All right, so I think I may have a little smoother presentation than last week. I want to welcome y'all back. Let's see, so I'm going to go to the desktop. And we were just looking at this a little earlier. Ooh, I made this all so cool this week. So this is week 2 of our online class, 1305, Computers and Education. Our agenda for this week is we're going to look at professional parental communication, Google Forms, creating a quiz, Google Doc and collaboration. I anticipate spending more time on that. So what I thought we'd do is we'd actually do some of that brainstorming as a group, and then you could kind of see how it interacts. How in fact, if Becky is writing on it, you can see her writing on it, and you can write almost at the same time. So I thought we'd just do a little collaboration, brainstorming on that, and then Q&A, which, as you know, I usually do it as we go through the agenda, so there may or may not be much there. You may have questions about grades or something, and then a reflection question. Hey, any questions so far? Okay. For professional and parental communication, I know that there's a lot of it's not a lot of reading, but there's more reading than some people want to do in Moodle. I would suggest that you read that. It's based. Some of it you go, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. And some of it's coming from online and from classes and things like that. And some of it has just come from experience of being in the classroom. If you're dealing with 18-year-olds and older, if you're teaching a college class, then there's not any issues. If you're dealing with somebody that's a minor, then you have issues with what's called in loco parentis. In other words, you're standing in for the parents in a temporary basis, and parents are very protective of their children. Some are and some aren't. But you have to protect your professional reputation. You have to protect yourself. I mean, even if nothing happens, even if somebody makes an allegation and you successfully, well, no, nothing. It's all smoke and no fire. It's hurtful to your reputation, and it's very difficult. That can be very difficult to, if any tarnish on your reputation, you want to guard that. Also, this is also a very litigious society that we live in, as far as people having lawsuits and stuff, and they can come after you, and they can come after the district. And so, not only should you be gun shy and be careful about things, but your district that you work for will probably be very sensitive too, and they will have very strong recommendations about social media and things like that. And they tend to have vehicles. They tend to have vehicles in place so that you can get your information out to your students and information out to your parents. One of the advantages of social media, one of the advantages of the society that we're living in, is there are a lot of ways to communicate with your parents. And I would encourage you to communicate with them, to get a calendar out there so they can see what's going on, that the children can find out what's going on, send out, put things on Facebook at whatever's the district recommends. For example, at Wiley, we have the high school, we have a Wiley high school Facebook page. You can get stuff put on there. Just get the word out in whatever many medias as you can. You'll notice if you look at your classroom, you go, let's show you. if you go to your classroom and you go to students, I don't know if you've seen this or not. Of course, there's that class code that you can invite people in. You've got actions that you can do here, but you can also contact parents, email student, and for some reason that's not coming up. But there's that you can get, you can send this code out to your parents. You can just copy it. You can send that out, invite them into your class so they can know what's going on as well. So plus the districts will have websites that have pages anyway. So there's a lot of ways to communicate. I encourage you to communicate with your parents. If you have parents, you kind of get a feel for it. If you have parents that where a counselor asks questions about a child, or if an administrator gets involved with a child, and that happens, that happens all the time. And sometimes they just want to know. A parent will call and say, what's going on with my little Johnny, or email and say, what's going on with my little Johnny, through the administrator. And the administrators usually will say, have you talked to the teacher yet? And if an administrator or counselor gets involved, you're going to want to make sure that any subsequent conversation in that thread, I know you don't have to do it every time that child is involved, but anything that is involved with that particular instant that the counselor or the administrator was involved, and make sure that anything that you send to the parent, you copy them. You send an email, copy. You can either do a CC, which means the parent knows that the counselor knows, or a BCC, which means the counselor knows, but the parent doesn't know that the counselor knows. This is the difference between a CC and a BCC. So always keep them in the loop. If they've gotten involved somehow, always keep them in the loop, and they'll look at it and they'll just okay, I know what, because one thing they don't want is they don't want surprises. And then you'd have to explain things. It's a lot easier if you send them emails and say, this is what happened, this is what's going on, like that. So those are two things I can think of with that. I don't Facebook or Instagram or any Snapchat with any of my students that are currently my students. Once they cross the stage at the end of May and graduate, I'll do it. I know that I have students that follow me on Twitter and follow me on Instagram, but I'm not sharing with them. I'm not going back and talking to them. And by the same token, that's another thing is once they figure out who you are online, they can follow you. And some of these kids are really savvy, and they know a lot about what's going on. So once again, your reputation and stuff, if you go down to Port Aransas on spring break, and there you are with some babe in a bikini and a beer in the other hand, and you put that picture out there somewhere, they're going to find it. And so, oh, look at my teacher, look at him, boy, he's having a good time, and you don't want that. So guard yourself very carefully with that. Any questions about that, or any questions about that discussion question that goes along with the reading?
I did have a question. Well, it wasn't really about the reading per se, but you did hit on it about allowing parents access to the classroom, like the Google Classroom, so they can see what's going on in your classroom and this, that, and the other. But is there a way to limit them to where they only can see their child's like scores and what's going on with their child instead of allowing them to see all the students?
They're not, yeah, that's a good question. They're not going to see, first of all, if you, like right now, you guys aren't going to see each other's scores, Didn't you get grades? You've gotten an email about your grades in Google Classroom? Yes? Nobody else saw your grades. Okay? And if the parents are shared, in other words, if the parents were shared, they would only get your information. They would see your assignments, your calendar, and if I'm not mistaken, it comes out as a weekly summary. And your grades, they're not going to see anybody else's grades. They're very careful about that. Okay, so I've got a spreadsheet with your stuff on it, with the whole class on it. They don't see that, unless I shared it with them. But then I control the shares. I control who I share with on any Google apps. So that's the other thing in Google Drive and any sharing. Kind of watch who you're sharing stuff with too. And you can control, if you'll notice, I don't know if you've noticed on the things I've shared with you, but as you put these classes together and stuff, you can let the recipient just look at it and they can't do anything to it. You can let them edit it. And if it's in a classroom assignment, you can also set it so each person that you assign the thing to gets a separate copy. So that's how, for example, this week, the Google Doc that we're going to brainstorm, everybody can edit that. But last week's sheet, that was the student data sheet, everybody got a copy of their own. So Tom, you didn't see how Becky edited. You guys weren't cross-editing, but you each got a copy of the original. So you have all sorts of controls there, and you just have to think about, okay, what do I want my people to do with it? That makes sense. Any other questions on that or anything else? Becky, you okay? All right, let's see what else we got here. All right. Google Forms, creating a quiz. Let's take a look at that assignment. We were looking at something before the class, but so Google Forms, making a quiz. You can see when you put your first assignment together, it'll show how many. You see, this was 7 people have been assigned. Nobody's turned it in yet, so that you see that. Your editing and stuff, your features are up here. On this assignment, I did a little bit differently. Unlike the sheets, I did not make a step-by-step on how to do it. Okay. Oh, that's the wrong one. Not wrong. But these were all the different things these were videos that I picked up off of YouTube that I thought that they would have information that would help you get your quiz set up. Some of it you can figure out, and some not. And they're there. And I think they cover pretty much everything you need to fill the requirements. And then here's that Chalk Talk PDF that this quiz is based on. And I don't, first of all, whatever you do on the test, it's not going to be a real grade. It's just to learn how to make a quiz. All right. So don't go, oh, it's going to affect, I'm not going to graduate summa cum laude because I messed this up. No, it's just the quiz is designed to help you put it together. And if you want to make goofy questions and answers, or if you want to make trick questions, you want to make it easy, you want to make it hard, do whatever you want to on the quiz, okay? And the only people that are going to see it are the people that have signed up to be in your class. I would encourage you, I think I've said 5 questions, and I think 3 of them, there was a true, false, a multiple choice, and I think the putting your name in. But there's 2 questions in there that you can make them whatever you want. And so I would just play with those. Let's take another look at that real quick. All right, so here's a blank quiz. Hold on just a minute. I got to get the stuff kind of out of the way here. All right, so here's where you add features. See, so you can add questions, you can add titles and descriptions. You could have questions about. You could take it and say, okay, part 1 is about the first page of our reading. Part 2 is the second page, and you can actually break it down. So you can put sections in. You can add video for them to watch. You can say, watch this video and answer these questions. Add images. If you remember that survey we took last week, add pictures for freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. All I did was add an image right there, and it just fell right in with each question. Okay, and then this is where you add different types of questions. See here, here's all your short answer paragraph, check boxes. That's all in there. Okay, and then you can go in here when you do the answer key. So there's how you'd edit the question on this side, and then the answer key. And if you had for example, if the guy in one of the videos, the question was, what's the tallest mountain in the world, or what's the highest place in the world, and the answer was Mount Everest. And so they would write in. So the question was, right. So I thought this was kind of cool. What is the highest point in the world? Okay, and then he had like, I think he did this as a short answer, and then they write the answer in, and then the answer key. And when he did the answer key, he said, well, they could say Everest, but they might also say Mount Everest. They might also say Everest Mountain. So you can actually tell you only have one correct answer, which was Everest, but you can tell the computer, well, my students might say one of these 3 things. So that, that helps. Mark all others as incorrect, and then you change your score there. So I thought that, and I'll be honest with you, that was something that I didn't know until I watched that video. So I learned something new in the video. So you just kind of have to play with it. And then here you'd say, okay, it's required. Then if you wanted, you could duplicate it and change it around just a little bit. And you have these features here. You can descriptions and response validation, some things there. So you can see how to do that. If you go up here and you make that the title of the thing, if you click up here, I thought that would do it, but it didn't do that. He did something, and it seemed like he put the title in here, and then it showed up there, but it didn't for me. And then where it talks about a form description, so this is where I was talking about putting that description of where they could get the source. You can do things like that. And then you can do all sorts of color things. You can preview it. That's where you would see it, how the students will look at it. So you can do a practice test of your own. And then settings. This is something that Tom and I were looking at before class. if you want the grades, let me back up here. First of all, if you're going to use it as a quiz, you have to make it a quiz here. Okay, and then you have these different choices there. And if you're going to make it a quiz, then you're going to want to collect the email addresses. If you want the student, because that's how, when you assign it in Google Classroom, it's going to get to your different students. They're going to put their email in there, and then that gets correlated in Google Classroom. Okay, so that was real quick, and it's really longer than I wanted to take. But any questions about doing the quiz? Okay. Let's take a look at the next thing. Okay, I would explore creating the quiz, how you just play with those different options, and then I would do a preview to see what it's going to look like, and then on your students. And so we did. Let me go back to one we've already done. So my classroom assignment. So I click here, and then it shows up when you click it. Here's this is the assignment, and then this is the student work. So when you start getting results back, it'll look like this, and you can change the number of points per student, and you change the grades there. And I know I violated privacy. Just sorry. All right, but that's why you can make this thing, and you can always go in here, and you can edit and re-edit things. So you can fix them up if you don't like the way it was set up. Hey, any questions about the quiz or that yet? Okay. You can ask me anytime, but I think the videos are pretty much going to help you out as much as anything. And there's not that many different features that you can't kind of just play with it and then do the practice. And okay, now it's set up like I want it. So you can do that preview and kind of do a dress rehearsal, see if it's acting like you want that.
I play with moving the questions around in order because it gives you that option to move in order.
Yeah.
Because when I did the questions from the Chalk Talk, I had them out of order, reading order. So I put them in reading order, trying to figure that out. That's the only thing I actually figured out. The directions were pretty well spot on. So wasn't much to add to it.
Oh. And you, as you know, as since you're in college now and about to graduate, you're a professional test taker. People like things in order so that they think at the same order of the original. So that's a good idea. One of the things, let me show you. One of the things that I have learned, and you probably noticed it in my when you add things in your classroom assignment and you add these attachments, you can't change the order of them. Okay, so if I were actually doing this, I'd put the instructions at the top, and then the work that you're going to do. This is, I would have had the docs first, then the sheets, then any extra things underneath that. And you can't do that. You can't rearrange them. So if you ever want to kind of say, oh, well, this is how Miss, you can put them in the right order if you kind of have them set aside in classroom and then you bring them in. But I tend to build things as I go. I tend to put something in, and then I don't want to lose it, so I save it, things like that. Let me show you something too that helped me. I'm gonna add an assignment. Did I add in the oh, okay. See, your screen's in the way. Let me do it again. So I'm going to add create an assignment, and then I just want to show you one feature. If I'm building, as I build an assignment, you may feel the pressure to do it all at once, and then assign it. Well, you don't have to do that. You can go. You can save the draft. All right. So it saves, and then now I've done some more research. I found some more stuff to put in, and I go right up here, and it's in fine print. It's right here. It says saved posts, and there's the one I just started, and I can open it up again. So I don't have to schedule it. I don't have to assign it. I can build it, and I could be working on 2 or 3 different assignments at once, and they sit there. Another thing that you may have seen in earlier things is topics. Let's see, get this scroll. Okay. So topics, if you noticed, I had classroom and sheets, topics. I didn't sign a topics this week, but I did last week. And that's something you can do to make your, help you organize if you have a lot of stuff going on in a class. And see here, your topics show up over here. So in classroom, is the classroom assignments in that topic, and then sheets is there. And let's see if I wanted to go back to my screen. All right. So if I was going to, that's forms, Google Docs and collaboration. Yeah. See, so I could create another. Topic for that. I mean, another category for that one and a different category for that. And then they would be there. So if you were in my classroom and you said, well, I want to look at see what all the different assignments or sheets are, I could put it in there. So that's just another little helpful thing. Okay. Any questions? Any questions about that? It's something we haven't really talked about yet. Let's see where we are. And we talked about students a little bit. Now let me back up. Becky, Tom was talking about some of the settings at the end of your quiz about how whether or not to make a separate spreadsheet, or whether or not to which students to include and stuff like that. You can do it in forms, but you can also do it in classroom. And I find that I tend to put the basic quiz together and say it's a quiz, and then stuff like how I'm going to share with the students and stuff like that. I tend to do that in classroom. And for some reason, I just find that easier, but that's just whatever you want to do on that. Okay, Google Doc and collaboration. Let's see. I want you to go to your classroom or go to your assignments and open up that Google Doc. And that would be, collaboration is bogus. What do you think? Go ahead and everybody open that up. Give me a thumbs up when you got it there. I hope I have this set up right. Somebody's already been in here. All right. So if I want to see, I go down here. If you want to see who wrote stuff in, and you can go down here, Give me a thumbs up. Tom, if you got this up. You're muted.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to it here.
Okay, so you've gone. Are you in your classroom?
Actually, I'm in yours right
Yeah,
now.
you should be in my. I'm sorry, you should be in my classroom,
Okay.
and then you should see topic 6, the topic 6 assignment.
Yep, I'm
All right,
there.
and then the second thing down in the attachments, collaboration is bogus. What do you think?
Okay, yeah, I got it.
Okay, so click on that.
I'm just a
Okay.
little slow.
No, it's okay. Now see, if you look here, Thomas, you're coming up in a light green color. That's where your cursor is. Becky, move your cursor to right here where it says bogus. Now see, Becky came up as red, and then I don't know what color am I? Yeah, what color am I coming up as?
I see you as blue.
Okay. See,
You're that red color on mine.
Okay. See, so Google's random on that. If you wanted to see, let's say if I want to see who's done what editing, I go to Explore. Hold on, I got to move this out. See, I wrote about these things. Let's see more. That's not. Nope, that isn't what I thought it would do. Not doing what I thought. But there's a way that you can see. I can see who. Let's see it. Maybe it's show all. Nope. There's a way that I can see who wrote each thing as you do these. I can tell. I can tell who did that. I don't remember where it is right offhand. And I thought it was this button down here.
If you go up, right next to the title, in that little tiny print, it says "See New Changes." It'll also give you the option to see all changes.
Oh, well, like, okay. Oh, here. Okay, up here I see where it says Rebecca. Show chat. Home open comments thread.
Yep. If you go to the other side, it says "See New Changes." Like after File, Edit, View, after Help, it says.
Okay. Yeah, I see it. Thank you. All right. All right. That's it. See full chat. So you can see, and then I can click see, and then Tom, you put that in. Becky, put that in. See, and then mine would show up. And also, I can tell who did it by what time you did it too.
Mm-hmm.
So it has a lot of advantages for you as an educator and you as a student too. We'll take that off. The other thing was, let's see. I don't think collaboration. Okay, so this is stream of conscious. Okay, so you just kind of type what's in your head, and then, but I'm going to add a comment to that. See, so if I want to add a comment to what's there, I could say, see, so I don't, so and you can put that in there, and see that did not change what, I think it was Tom wrote that. It doesn't change what Tom wrote, but if we were actually building, like when we get down in here and we're building what we're going to write as a class, then somebody wrote that sentence down here that's going to be graded. Then I go, well, Tom, what do you mean by that? See, so Tom can go in and say, oh, he's highlighted, somebody, It doesn't have to be me. It could be any of y'all, anyone. Oh, what does he mean by, oh, okay, I see. I don't think it isn't bogus. Okay, so I don't think it is bogus, or I think it isn't bogus, you know, and then I don't, please clarify, and then you can go back later and play with it. So you can see that. Okay, let me show you, let me show you how to do a footnote. All right, so let's say that the level of working well with others should be consideration of any type of collaborative work. Let's say that Tom had a citation for that. Okay, and he says, okay, I've got something, I found that in an email. So he can go insert, footnote. And then he can just type it in. He put his web page down in there. Now, I think this is right. That footnote's there. If I added, let's say Becky came in and she added a footnote here, watch what happens to the numbering. And I think this is pretty cool. I lost it. There it is. She adds her footnote in, and the software automatically puts it in the right order. See, and then if I take this out, and I'm going to use Control X to cut it, and then I think it should be down here. Control V, the footnote went with it. See. But the number changed because it kept track of the order. So that's a good thing. So we've really kind of run out of time. So you guys have already started playing with it, but you can see if we did that chalk talk, you could do that chalk talk where in the chalk talk they went on a blackboard and they did it all on a blackboard. I could see a junior high school kids doing a collaboration, a chalk talk collaboration, that you put this up on the whiteboard on your smart board. You put this up on the screen, and everybody in the class is editing this at the same time. All your students are sitting there with their on their computer devices and things like that, and they're editing this thing in real time, and it's being saved digitally rather than on a piece of paper. So you could take that chalk talk idea and do that. Okay, so let me y'all did a little bit of editing, and I'm trying to watch our time. I want to make sure we're okay. Let me talk about doing citations. Okay, citations. Citations do not have to be hard. I know people are scared about them, but let me tell you, especially with digital, you guys, being an old curmudgeon, you guys don't know how easy you've got it, because there's software that'll put things in the right order for you. Let me show you. Okay. I put this is Citation Machine. It used to be called Son of Citation. It is awesome. Okay, it will set up your citation for you. Tom, give me something that we want to research. Just off the top of your head. You're muted.
Sorry about that. I thought I took it off. Elementary math.
Okay, elementary math and Google Forms. Okay, so elementary math. I don't know. I don't want math. Elementary math. Google Forms. Oh man. All right. So let's say that this is, I'm going to just go and making this quick and dirty. Here's some stuff like this, and I wanted to make a citation for this. Okay, so I found it online, and as long as I can get this URL, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to go back to citation machine. Okay, and it says create. They want you to spend your money with that. Create citations. So I go there. We're going to use, I don't know what you're using in other classes, but education tends to be in MLA format. So we're going to use that. Okay, then all I got to do is I go here. I'm going to make, it's a website that I'm citing right here. I chose that. And I'm going to go here. I'm going to use Control V, and I'm going to paste it in there. Okay, and then I'm going to go search websites. Okay, so Google Forms examples, that's what it was. So I'm going to go select. All right, so they found this information. So they got most of it, but they didn't find a publisher sponsor, and they didn't find the date published. So I'm going to go final step. And then here's the article title. I can go back here. It's Skyway Elementary is the publisher sponsor. So I can just give them credit there. The author, I'll show you the, I don't know who the author is, but I'll show you a trick. If you go here, if you really want to get into it, view, I think it's view page source. And let's see if it comes up. Well, that's kind of, sometimes you can find a name in here of the author, and you just kind of browse through there and you can find it. Oh, I like to do that if I can. Or let's see if it's in Inspect Elements. All right. And sometimes you can do that and find a name of somebody that you can give them credit. If I can give somebody credit, I'll do that. But probably for this, it's okay. So we did get that. We got the electronically published. Oh, did I lose it? That's all right. It is good to have a date and that inspect. It's because you need to know how fresh something is. And so you kind of have to look through. That says 1999, and that may or may not be correct. So I don't have a good date, and I don't want to spend a lot of time looking for it. But you can add the date in here if you can find it at any kind of a good date at all. You want to do that. And then you go create citation. And there it is. It says copy. So I've copied it. Then I can go back to my collaboration is bogus. I go down here, and it was I was doing it. It was this citation. I can hit. I paste it, and there it is. I'm done. Not a problem. You know, it's in the right format. It's got the right information. I've given credit to the person that said that where I found that resource. Very easy to do. Okay. Any questions about that? I mean, it makes life when I'm doing my research. As a student, as a grad student, I'll do that. Anytime I find a note or footnote or something, I'll get the quote, and then I go to citation machine. I make the citation with the quote in the, right there, and then anytime I use that quote, I've already got the citation ready to plug in. Okay, And then, let's see, I want to see one other thing. See, and then you can also see, I've copied that, but then I can change it. I can change it to that too. Okay, so I can get I can make it look like it's supposed to look for an in-class citation. Okay, I didn't share the screen on that. I'm sorry, but you can do that. So that's the Google. That's how you do your citation, and as you can see, it's pretty simple. Not yet, not yet. I'll lose my. Yeah, see, and I had that. All right. So we did comments, footnotes, citations. Do you have any questions? Anything? Do you have any questions about the grading, the way it's gone so far? Okay. Last week I threw some extra credit in that if you changed the graph on your sheet, I changed it so that you could. I fixed it so there was extra credit. If you put a legend in for your vertical and horizontal, if you put a heading here and a heading here on your graph, I gave you 1 extra point. If you also put the name, if you also labeled each bar, then I gave you another point, so you could make extra 2 points. Then I went back and I looked at your grades over the last week, and if you had points, if you lost some points in the grades, I added them back in. So everybody made either one. People made either 1 or 2 extra points. So those have already been plugged back in, except for one student that he got 2 extra points, and I can only find 1 spot. So I'm gonna give him a certificate for 1 more point that he can plug in somewhere in the course. All right, so that's how the extra credit thing works. All right, any questions about grades or assignments so far? Okay, our reflection. How do you feel about collaboration, doing collaborative projects in a class, and why?
I've never really been a fan of collaborative projects because it always feels like 1 or 2 people end up doing like the majority of the work, and then and then a couple other people just kind of slide by and put a couple things in, and then there's always like 1 person who does nothing, and it's kind of frustrating because you're like, oh, the whole group got credit for all the hard work we did, but you didn't do anything.
Yeah, that's always been a frustration with me. How about you, Tom?
I have used collaborative work before. Being in the military, I mean, pretty much everything is collaborative between people, but you all have to be on the same page. And like she said, there's some people that just sit back and do absolutely nothing while the other ones do the work and expect to get the credit for it. So it can go either way. Like I said in the thing, it all depends on what the need is. If there's different specialties that have to come together to get it, then I can see it. But if everybody's the same specialty, then yeah, there's going to be a lot of butting heads and people sitting back and giving up. So it all depends how it's used, I guess.
Yeah. And all 3 of us are former military, so we've all had similar experiences. I will put an announcement that as I was researching for this class tonight, I found if you don't read Edutopia, it's a site devoted to 21st century reform. That's called education reform, and it's sponsored by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Very reputable place, and so it's a you might look at that, and you might even start subscribing to it and getting information from them about education and ideas. I found several articles about collaboration that didn't fit in with this assignment, but they addressed some of y'all's questions and questions that I have about how to deal with that, you know, 2 or 3 people carrying the load and then 2 or 3 people slacking, and how to overcome that. So I'll put some articles in our classroom for you to take a look at that if you'd like. Any other reflections on collaboration? Okay. I'm looking forward to seeing what y'all come up with in our class paper. Okay. That, I believe, is going to do us for tonight. And let me just close with Alla Kumba. All right. All right. That'll do us for tonight if you don't have any other questions. All right. Thank you all very much for coming. Appreciate it.